Glory to Jesus Christ. Welcome home. Welcome home to the house of your Father. What beautiful words to hear, welcome home. And today you're all in the house of the Father. So please keep before your minds this image. Keep this before your mind and before your heart. This is the ultimate welcome home. This is the welcome home of this lost, sinful son. And no matter how lost and how sinful and how bad he's been, the Father throws his arms around him and welcomes him home. Any one of us at any time can choose to take the place of this lost son who is being welcomed home. All of us need to be forgiven. All of us need to be welcomed back. And at any time, the Father's arms are available for you and available for me, with that welcome that is always, at any time, available to each and every one of us. Keep that image before your mind and your heart. We call this the story of the prodigal son because prodigal means wasteful. And this bad guy wasted everything that he was given. Prodigal means wasteful, so I think really you could perhaps even call it even better the parable of the prodigal father, because the father is the wasteful one. He wastes his love on these two nasty sons, these two no good sons. The youngest one says, it's almost like he's saying, Dad, I wish you were dead so I could have the money. I don't want to wait until you're dead so that I can have fun with all the money. So how about you sell everything and give me half of the money now so I can go off and have a good time? Nice guy. Nice guy. But his father gives him his half of the inheritance. And he goes off and blows it on sin and selfishness and soon finds himself starving. And when we do waste our lives on sin and selfishness, we'll quickly find ourselves starving in one way or another. But the older brother is not much better. He too is a real meanie. You know, you can almost hear him whining. You never give me anything. You never give me anything, and I work so hard, and I do all my chores every day, and you don't appreciate me. We've all got a bit of that in us. And I think he went round like this, Well, this is mine. Do you know, this is my money. This is mine. And no, you can't have any. You can't have any. This is all mine. I work very hard for my money. I'm very careful with my money. Not like my brother who ran away and blew it all on women and drink and parties. I don't go to parties. I'm very good. I've only ever had one beer in my life. It was non-alcoholic. Nobody appreciates me. My dad hasn't even let me have a cookout with my friends. Hang on a minute, I don't think I actually have any friends. You get the picture. Not a nice guy. And yet there's elder brother in all of us. There's the judgmental person that thinks, you know what? I'm pretty good. I'm better than him. I'm definitely better than her. I'm all right. Yeah. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. But look at the father. Because this parable of the wasteful father who wastes his love on these two no good sons. And when he finally sees the younger son returning, he runs to him. He runs to meet him and to throw his arms around him. He doesn't even let him get his prepared apology speech even halfway out of his mouth before he's thrown his arms around him and said, you are my son. I thought you were dead, and now you're alive. Quick, get the fatted calf, kill it, throw it on the grill. We are having a party to celebrate. Put a nice robe on him, put a ring on his finger, because he is still my son. I thought he was dead, and now he has come back to life. What a wonderful welcome awaits all of us in the Father's house. I'll never forget one day I came home from college, and my dad was so happy to see me. And my dad made a wickedly good curry. And he said, "Do you want a curry? Do you want a curry?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's have a curry." And he gave me this curry. And after I'd finished it, he was like, "Well, your mum's gone to bed. Do you want another curry?" And we had 2 curries and several beers, and it was the loveliest evening. That's only a shadow of the welcome that awaits us in our Father's house. But we don't expect a good welcome from God. Our fallen, fearful hearts and our bad experiences often lead us to expect something very different from God. It's as if we were to come back home like the prodigal son, we expect something more like this. "Oh, right. Look who's back. Look what the cat dragged in. What no good, low life individual finally decided to see the light." We've all heard speeches like this. I mean, with some justification. "You're in so much trouble, young man. You're on slave rations. And you're going to be on toilet duty from now till the second coming. And by the way, you're sleeping in the shed tonight." That's what we expect. Because we don't know just how good God is. I mean, none of these sons were good at all. There's nothing good in anything that the prodigal son did. The goodness is in the Father's love, in the Father's heart that just can't wait to bring his son back home. You know, one thing that disturbed me very much when I was younger, there were a family in the parish where I grew up. And this family were in all the activities, joined all the church functions. And then shortly after I'd gone to college, I heard that something terrible had happened. And the 20-year-old son had gotten a married woman pregnant. And his family had said, "You don't belong to this family anymore." And they'd thrown him out literally onto the streets. That still bothers me. I don't know what that is. But it's not Catholic and it's not Christian. And it bothers me to this day. Neither of the sons get how much the Father loves them. And we don't get at all how much the Father loves us. You know, the eldest son, the meanie, doesn't realize it all already belongs to him. He could have had a cookout, a banquet, any time he wanted to. The property is all his. And when the prodigal son comes back, he can't cope when he sees the mercy and the forgiveness. He can't cope with someone else receiving goodness and kindness. And there's a little bit of us, a little bit of him in all of us, unfortunately. We don't understand how generous God longs to be to us. You know, at the Ambon prayer at the end of liturgy, we pray these words from the letter of St. James. Every good gift, and every good and perfect gift, comes down from above, coming down from the Father of lights. Every good thing, every good gift that you enjoy is a gift from the same Father who longs to shower us with goodness and with generosity. The Saint Ambrose tells us, Christ chooses those who stand. So rise up and run to the church. For here is the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. He who hears you pondering in the secret places of the mind runs to you. When you are still far away, he sees you and he runs to you. He sees in your heart. He runs and he embraces you. He wraps his arms around your neck to bring you back to heaven when you have turned aside to the earthly. He throws his arms around your shoulders to free you from the yoke of slavery, and he hangs his own sweet yoke upon your shoulders. Christ comes to free from the yoke of slavery. And whilst none of us are actual indentured slaves, we're all slaves inasmuch as we serve sin. You know, these saints tell us that the citizen that the prodigal son hired himself out to is actually a symbol of the devil, of the evil one. That we sell ourselves in slavery to sin and to things that destroy our lives. And at the end, he was so hungry, the word tells us, that he was longing to fill his belly with the husks that the pigs were eating. We even come to these horrible places where we even start to want pig food. We start to think that this is a good thing. We start to think that this is something that can satisfy us. Maybe we even do eat pig food. But the door is always open. The door is always open. One of the saints tells us that he delivers himself to a stranger. He flees from a most generous provider and instead endures a severe judge. He is a deserter from affliction, a refugee from fatherly love. He is then assigned to the swine, sentenced to them, and given over to their service. He wallows in their muddy fodder. And he perceives how wretched and bitter it is to have lost the happiness of peaceful life in his father's house. Well, maybe it's no accident that this weekend people who have committed themselves to the service of that citizen, to the service of the evil one, have come to town. And service to Satan, let me tell you, is no easy life. It's slavery, it's fear, it's despair, and very often it's suicide. So there are people in town that need our prayers. People in town who were trapped in service to the evil one. And if you're interested to know just how awful service to the devil is, anybody who wants a copy of this book, I'll set you up with one for no charge. This is the story that I mentioned previously of a Catholic lady who used to serve the evil one. And through the prayers of the church and the grace of Jesus Christ, has become free. Jesus longs to set even the worst sinner free from whatever slavery they experience. Anybody at any time, as I said at the beginning, can change places and be the prodigal son that is welcomed back into the Father's heart and into the Father's house. And as we start to prepare ourselves for the great fast, for the season of Lent, we also look forward to Pascha, to the celebration of the resurrection. That will truly be a feast where the sound of rejoicing knows no end, where you really can hear the dancing and the celebrating and the praising from a long way off. St. John Chrysostom reminds us, if anyone has come only at the 11th hour, let them not be afraid of their delay. Any time is the right time. It's never too late to come home to the Father, to come home here to the Father's house. For the Lord is gracious and welcomes the last even as the first. He gives rest to those who come at the 11th hour, just as to those who laboured from the first. We all know that when Jesus finds a lost sheep or a lost son, he wraps his arms around them, lays the lost sheep on his shoulders, rejoicing, and calls together his friends and neighbours, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which I had lost." Let us rejoice. Let us not criticize and judge. Let us rejoice whenever a lost sheep is found. And may the lost sheep within all of us find and rejoice the forgiving, wonderful, loving embrace of the generous Father. It doesn't matter how far away you've gone. It doesn't matter what the older brothers who think they're so holy, but they're not. It doesn't matter what they say or think. The Father is longing for you and will come running to meet you. Glory to Jesus Christ.